Yo guys, welcome to another exciting episode of the Come Up and Cut. My name is Tabo Changela. Today we are chilling with the ever so awesome Tumi Morake. Tumi is a radio broadcaster, stand-up comedian, and an actress. You can find her movies on Netflix. You can also find her stand-up comedy on YouTube and other digital platforms. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy this one. Welcome to the Come Up, man. As we've already spoken off camera, it's Tabo. Nice to meet you, Tumi. Finally.
Nice to meet you.
Finally.
Dude.
Why haven't you been on the podcast yet? In a year.
I think my application was at the bottom of the pile. Apparently, everybody wants to get on this podcast with Tabo, and I was like,
Is that your story? You sticking to that?
by fire, by force, I'm not moving. I'm here.
I'm not gonna dispute that.
Thank you. The defense rests your honor.
I wanna start on a more morbid note before we go up. Just wanna start down, going up. The death of Ricky Rick that hit South Africa. You know, I don't know how things are that side, but it's hitting us here in South Africa. I went out last night, and they were playing his songs, but you could feel that, you know, people are sad in South Africa. People are sad. I don't know what's happening with men in general, black men with mental illness. But what do you think is happening within the industry, and not South Africa industry, but entertainment industry as a whole? Are there any pressures that we don't know about that might be pushing people over the edge?
I think it's everyone. I don't think it's an industry thing. It's just when it happens in an industry more than once, you start to go, it's the industry.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Everybody's going through the most, you know? And I feel like, you know, this question you're asking about men and mental health, I feel like, particularly for South Africa, right? We have such a violent history. We have a violent history that we all just came out of. No one checked how everyone's doing, how everyone's recovered mentally and emotionally from the hell that was everything building up to 1994 and everything that happened after 94 to settle us, to bring us to where we are today. Then we had this whole pandemic happen. And that was a whole other violent thing that happened to all of us. You know, where suddenly just our right to move freely and to be it felt like taken from us again. And then add to that, what it did for people being cut off from other people, what it did for people creatively. I remember the hardest thing for me about the pandemic being the inability to create. I spent so much time going, whew, this means I'm free. I'm probably going to write like crazy because I never had time to write. But the mind wasn't right. I wasn't free on purpose. I didn't consciously put myself on holiday. You know what I mean? It's like being put in ICU. You're not going to go, oh, finally I'm getting some sleep. Let me plan my next holiday. No, you need to recover. So I think, firstly, people mustn't now suddenly rush and say people must talk, they're not talking, or get help. Ask if people are getting help. Because some people are getting help. It's just hard. You know? I was saying to Ndumi, so for me, depression is like cancer in many ways, because you never know who's going to beat it and who's going to succumb to it. So we can reach out and catch people. We can reach out to help people. We should reach out to be caught ourselves. But we need to stop this God complex of we could have saved anyone, because we can.
Yeah.
The fact that he publicly spoke about it and he reached out tells you that it was something he didn't just grapple with. He tried to get help with.
People seem to think if you're in the public eye, you're more prone to depression, but it's for everyone, you know. And I think there are people that are committing suicide that we don't know about because they're not in the limelight. But if it's someone in the limelight, obviously it will be highlighted. People will be tweeting about it. People will be talking about it. But it hits everyone. It hits everyone. It's not a South African thing. It's not an American thing. It's not a black thing. It's a human thing. You know, it's a people thing.
But I think with South Africa, if we look at what's happened with GBV numbers going up, and now with this rate of suicide that's been that's happening with our men, and then wondering what's happening with black men in particular, because I don't know. I was looking at somebody posting the stats, but I didn't know if they're saying men across the board, or are they saying black men, or you know, um, because for particularly for black men, I think black men have it hardest. If I speak about South Africa, South African black men, I cannot imagine what that must be like. I mean, because when you look at black men, our history, right? You guys have been oppressed, yo. Like you, a black man was like the lowest common denominator. You were the bottom of the food chain, right? And then freedom comes, and this is the time for you to man up in a different way, because first you were manning up by fighting for your country, by fighting for emancipation, economic emancipation. You know, you knew you were fighting for your children, for your future. Then come now, we are free. The women who you were supporting are also free. They are also now economically free, and they are also now, their rights are your rights. And so you kind of lose that thing that you thought it's your time now to show her that now you're going to take care of the family, now that you've freed yourselves. You understand? You lost that as well. Now suddenly it's about my rights, my freedom, and my power. And you're going, but I just got mine now, and I would like to practice
And
it.
I fought for
But I
it.
can't practice it. I can't practice it because now you also have it. What is this thing? What must can happen here? You know? And then there's those of us who were born to those men, who have inherited that DNA from them of the need for struggle and for fight. But you're going, I have nothing to fight for. Therefore, what's my worth? What's my use? My woman is bringing 10 times what I bring home. So what's my use? Or I'm not even bringing anything. So what's my use? And it's sad that there haven't been a lot of men who have found what their use is. That, well, I still need you to carry me, believe it or not. I still need you to be the head. You know, I still need you to raise my kids. Your kids need you more than I need you right now. You know, and I've loved this. You know, I was talking to a friend of mine while I was still in South Africa, talking about how many guys we keep seeing with babies on their backs, dropping kids off at school, plaiting kids' hair, just being there, you know. And I'm going, I'm just praying that men are finding that in the same way freedom for women has meant we can do so much more. Freedom for men should mean exactly the same thing. You can do so much more. You are even free now to explore what you can do without being tied down to taking care of everybody else. Like, it's cool to take care of you now.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
cool.
I
You
think,
know?
man, from a man's perspective, I think the most difficult thing is the standards that are being set, right? And social media did not make things any easier, because now you log in, there's someone uttering, a real man is a man who drives this, and you're not that, you know. So I always tell men that it's important that you have your identity before you go out there looking for it, because otherwise you're just gonna keep on changing based on social media standards. And I think that's where a lot of
And
men
just once, can just once somebody answer that person who says a real man does this, so that that man can go and the real woman doesn't type that nonsense on social media, because you know, and you know, or even say, hey, then I don't want to be a real man. Can I be a Hong Kong? Because also sometimes, can we just also go, no, I refuse. I will not subscribe. You know those things where they're like, click here to subscribe. You're like, bitch, I'm not subscribing. I'm fine. Like, don't subscribe to that nonsense.
exactly. But I think not subscribing comes with knowing yourself, you know. Like for me, if someone was to say a real man is a man that beats up women, I won't subscribe to that, because I've I've understood what it means for me to be a man. And I think that's where a lot of men are struggling. We just haven't found ourselves. We don't know our identity. So anything that looks cool, we subscribe to. But if a TV show portrays a real man as someone who's successful, who's this and this and this, we chase that because that's what a real man is. But anyway, to me, this is just a morbid topic. It's just a morbid topic. Anyway, I'm here to talk about you, not the men in South Africa. Hey, I'm still starstruck. Hey, I'm still starstruck.
I was say dramatic, please. Like, gosh.
As I said earlier, I've known you since I've known about you since WTF, right? And as I was preparing for this podcast, man, I was thinking how amazing God is, because I would never have imagined speaking to you, because I remember the interviews you did with Bonti, Nasty C, and I'm 26 now. I wasn't that young, but I was still at home, you
You
know.
were 21.
Yeah, I was young. I was young. Yeah. I remember watching those shows, man, and asking myself what does it take to be on these shows and stuff like that. You know? I've never been crazy
Yeah.
about media, but looking at someone who comes from where I come from, because we're both from the Free State, making it big in Joburg, and at that time, I think I was still struggling to come to Joburg and things like that, because now I'm in Joburg. Um, it was just amazing to when you agreed to come to the podcast. I'm like, God is amazing, man, because 4 or 5 years ago, I wouldn't have imagined speaking to you, and you're just a happy soul, man. But I wanna take it from the start. You grew up in Tabanchu. I'm gonna correct me if I'm wrong. You grew up in Tabanchu, from a family of fighters during the apartheid regime. So you grew up looking at women who were fighting. You that's where you got your strength from. If I'm using the words right, you know what it means to be a woman who fights. But just take us briefly, 5 minutes or even 4 minutes. Just take us through that, like Tabanchu to Bloemfontein before you come to Joburg. How it was growing up in Tabanchu.
Yeah, so I was born in Taranchu. My mother was actually a nurse at Moraka Hospital, where I was born. And fun fact, when it was time for me to get my unabridged birth certificate, it didn't exist. It looks like after they got rid of Bophuthatswana, they got rid of all of the documentation of births. It's like that country never existed. So it's almost like I was born nowhere. I just happened in life. I actually just happened. So, so that was fun, trying to figure out how to then prove I was born somewhere in the country. Um, so I was born there. My dad was a cop in Bloom at the time, and my mom was a nurse there in Tabanchu. And then they moved to Daung. From Daung, they moved to Mafikeng. And then um, all this time, my dad was, he's always been an ANC member, and he was doing stuff underground for them. And he ended up being arrested for treason. And when that happened, they made a decision that I have to be taken to my grandmother's place, so that I'm safe, so that I'm in a stable environment. And as soon as my mom dropped me off and went back to Mafikeng, she was arrested for treason. So I was an orphan, sort of, for a little while, living with my grandmother in Tabanchu while my parents were in jail. They didn't have enough on my mother, so she was out in like 6 months, which is an eternity for a child. I had never been away from my parents for that long. I don't think I'd ever been away from my parents for even like a day. So this was really a big shocker for me. And my dad being my best friend, him going to jail was probably one of the most traumatic things I've ever gone through. And I've gone through trauma. But having my dad taken away from me like that was also very hard. I grew up with lots of male cousins, so I learned how to fight. So much as I had freedom fighters, I also had little fighters who taught me, to stand up to dudes and not be afraid of dudes. And it helped me when I went into comedy, because we go into stand-up comedy back in the day when I was going in. It was very rare to find another woman in the room unless she's in the audience. So it made it easy for me to also establish ground rules with the guys. You know what I mean? Where I'm like, if you guys are gonna turn this into a pissing contest, I might pee further. So you might want to calm down and sit down.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so that's me. I grew up surrounded by love. I grew up with my grandmother who was a praying woman who was just loving and strict. Unaja ping, unaja ping. If anybody knows ping, like I am who I am today because of ping, guys. If you don't know ping, ping is those it's a pinch, but they pinch you with their nails, not their fingers, and they pinch you
Oh,
under
I
your arms
remember.
and
I remember.
inside
My mom
your
used to do
thighs.
that.
Yes, you don't need to hit a child, bruh. You don't need to hit a
Hey,
child.
my
Just
mom used to do that.
ping, ping.
My mom used to
Like
do
I would imagine that thing, and my whole body would be like, "Let's just arrest ourselves, comrades.
that.
Let's bring
Hold
it down."
yourself. Hold yourself.
Just yo. So
Oh,
yeah, that was me.
crazy. And then, why comedy? Have you always known that you're funny? When did you realize that I could actually do this comedy thing?
In university, comedy was always gonna happen for me because I've always been desperate to express myself. And much as I grew up in a very loving environment, I also grew up in an environment that was very restrictive. Like we all knew our place. A thing I feel like a lot of kids lack right now. We knew when to speak, when not to speak. And as a girl, especially, then there's how loud you speak, you know, what you say and how you say what you say and how you conduct yourself. And so I'm a rebel by nature. I just rebel, bruh. Like, that's why I can't hold jobs. Like, I literally will quit a job. I'm like, you're not firing me. Fine. I quit. Like, I've tried.
Hey,
I've
radio
tried to stay
career.
in places. I've tried to have careers where I have a boss. Baba, I can't. I've tried. I can't.
So varsity, that's
I
when you
can't.
realize that okay, comedy is something that I can venture into, ne?
Yes. Yes, because I was an actor, I was a writer, I was dabbling in directing and business. But I loved comedy. I loved that it wasn't just it's funny by accident. I loved that there's timing, there's choice of words, there's how you say what you say. And my best thing was the things you're not allowed to say. If you can wrap them up well in comedy, you can say them. You can get away with saying them. And so I was like, this is where I'm going. This is freedom. And the biggest thing for me about stand-up comedy, particularly, was that I realized it's the one place where it doesn't matter what I look like, how fat or thin I am, how pretty or ugly I am. It's the talent that counts. Because, I would audition for 10 million things. When you watch a show and you're like, I auditioned for that part, and that girl couldn't act her way out of a box.
She's not
She couldn't,
killing it, ne? She's not
she
doing
couldn't
her
even
best.
act like the paper on the cardboard, but there she is. She's in the role because she's sexy. So with comedy, I loved that. Number one, nobody's calling me by a character name. They're calling me by my name. And I'm being sold without a doubt by my talent. Because if the audience isn't laughing,
You're not
what am I doing?
talented, yeah. When did you get your first big break? Because this is mine.
What was
This is my first
Yeah?
big break in
What?
podcasting. Like, yeah.
They're gonna be like, he's interviewing a has been here, and then he comes to tell us his name. Get us somebody who's relevant. So you're talking about my big break in comedy,
In comedy.
or generally?
No, in comedy.
Comedy. In comedy, I'm gonna consider my first big break Blacks Only. Doing Blacks Only with David Gao, honestly, for me, was the big break I needed. Because after I did that 5 minutes where people flew out of their seats and I got a standing ovation of 5,000 people, I was like, OMG, this is me. They felt me. And then the work just came and grew and grew and got better and better. The opportunities opened up. And in that time, it wasn't a matter of just sitting and it opens up, right? It was a matter of I went, they like me. Let me jump in while it's hot. And then that was the moment. And that was the moment where I went in to places to say, but this is who I am. I don't know if you heard about this. So yeah, that was my first big break.
But I think what you did really helps because a lot of people, that's why we have so many one-hit wonders in South Africa. Ne? They come in, they're hot, and they want to ride that wave for like a year or two over something that they did last year. They're still riding that. And we forget about you. Give us new things.
Yeah. So push yourself.
Push yourself.
Like,
yourself.
Like, it's nice. I've done lots of first this, first that, first, and I'm like, but it's not enough. If I'm the only one who's done it, like if there weren't female comedians killing it and killing it bigger than me coming out of South Africa, it would mean I did something wrong. It would mean I didn't actually do as well as I thought. And if the industry wasn't having more women come up, then it would mean now high corner. So that's why I really think, yeah, you when you do well at something, you need to remember that we're all here to serve. It's not just about you. Those victories are not just about you shining and going home and going, look, this is me in the papers. It's also you showing other women that, hey, this place where they said we can't go in, again, let's go.
Yeah. But I only know three funny female comedians in South Africa.
Name them.
It's you.
So I can correct you.
It's you. It's Nina. I find Nina quite funny, and Celeste. And Celeste Nduli. Like,
Celeste is
I enjoy
boss.
comedy.
Like,
it's different, but I enjoy it.
Guys, if I could be like Celeste. Did I get cut off or did you get cut off? I was gonna ask, did you lose me or did I lose you?
You got cut off. So I didn't get what you said after I said Celeste.
Oh no, I said she's a beast. She's a beast. Like, there are very few people in the comedy space who pin me inside and I go, this is why I love this thing. And Celeste is one of those very few people who does that. Celeste. She is a force to be reckoned with. But you have Angel Blythe Campy, and she is in Cape Town. She is something else. There's Monique Nokia, who gives you a whole other white female Afrikaans perspective you never thought of, and then a universal one where you go, and like, but we are all one animal, eh? Black on black, this thing, eh? Blue and blue. You have Claudine Ullman, who is also like, she brings the Jewish edge, and you're like, oh, hello. You've got Gilly Apter, who is on the pulse. You know, when it's like somebody knows exactly where to hit the comedy and it needs to be hit. There's Lichem Simang, who is unexpected. There's Nokumu Swete, who is like that auntie who you give her tea and scones and then the juice comes out. There are so many talented women out there doing comedy, and I think a lot of the times you won't know their names because they're out on the ground. They're doing a lot of the club gigs, but they're growing in terms of doing the big live gigs and stuff like that. So yeah, I think in time, because it's a growing industry, a lot more of these women will be known. I mean, because also South African comedy is shifting. Like, we used to have a very narrow-minded idea of stand-up and what stand-up is, and we have more people coming up. Coconut Kells is funny as hell. That is a hell of a funny comedian. There's the funny chef.
Oh yeah.
There are so many funny women in South Africa. It's just about what you're into. It's about what you're into. And you also find that for some reason this happens with women, and I feel like it happens in every industry, where one comes in, everybody act like, but there can't be another one because we already have this one.
Oh.
And I go, yeah.
We already have Tumi and Celeste. So what are...
Yeah, so who are these ones? Yeah. Hey, there's a quota.
It's
no.
True. It's true. I feel like there's always a glass ceiling when it comes to female in any industry. We can't have too much of the same thing from women. It's true. So, comedy sorted. When do you decide to venture into radio?
So it was always like a jealous thing of mine where I was like, I wished when I was in varsity, because I don't know if they do it now, that they'd had the option to do radio, in the training. And because I'd done TV, I did the technical side of TV and I did theater, but I really wanted to do radio because I thought radio is so amazing. You build pictures just with your voice, with what you're saying. You reach people in spaces you don't know. It's uncontrolled, Like, I love radio because it's uncontrolled. You don't know if the person who's listening to you is naked or dressed. You don't know where they are, in their house, in the garden, in the car, if they're looking at a dead body or if they're looking at a beautiful thing. But you are in their ear, you are in their psyche in that moment. And so I wanted to do that because I knew how radio DJs had made me feel. I knew how Notemba Madumo made me feel. I knew how Glenzito made me feel. I knew how Titch Mataz made me feel. Like, I know the TP2s are going, who are those people? But those are the people I grew up listening to. Yeah, you guys were born quarter past yesterday. But also going to Joburg and how listening to YFM when Bo Fresh were there and Bo Appleseed were there, how that formed who I am musically today, what I listen to, and where I fit in the urban culture, you know. So I wanted to do that. I wanted to be that guy, and then I did it, and I really enjoyed it when I was doing it on a podcast level, on the Freer, when I was still at Clip Central. And then I was like, oh, more money. Jacaranda, let's go. Because every time I'd gone to Jacaranda, I had such a nice rapport. The audience were fantastic. We were vibing.
You went to that one.
Then it turned out I'm not a safe black, I'm not a safe black, and I will never pretend to be.
Yeah.
And I believe that if I'd stayed on and if I'd pushed further, I probably would be far with radio right now. But at the time that it happened, there was so much happening. And in that moment, it was the last thing I needed. In that moment, I did not have time to fight apartheid levels of fights. I was like, no, I deserve better and I want better. So I left. Because there was also shitloads happening in the background with my own life. Then I went to Motsweding, and that was wonderful. That was just, dude, just to be at home. You know, when you're like, I'm home now, I can misbehave as much as I want. And that one just became tough because how can I put this?
Put it. It's a free podcast. This one.
I was trying to find a nice way to put it, and you just said, "Go." I went. So I just went. You know, there are things I can take, and there's a point where you go, no.
Yeah.
And then I was looking at my schedule and I was like, but Tando Tabuchi does this, she does a radio, but she can still have a full-on TV career. I can do this. And then I was like, yeah, but I'm also doing it with 3 children and a husband. I must find balance. And so I was like, yeah, it's better I walk. But again, it's also that little rebel in me who can't have a boss. I cannot. If anybody was to ask me, what's the worst thing for you about being in radio? What was the worst thing maybe about also being at WTF? Being answerable to somebody who then also, corporate has hierarchies.
Yeah.
And then people think you're gonna play to that bullshit. I can't. I can maybe in the beginning when somebody whispers in my ear, yes, this one's so we must. I'm like, okay, let's. But then I will do that for 2 minutes, and then literally little Tumi goes, sorry. Hi, yes. Skras. You're not gonna say anything.
You're gonna listen to that one.
Stop it. Yeah. I'm like, hey, I'm being here. It's like, where not here. And then before I know it, it's out of my mouth. Yeah. Because even with corporate work.
Yeah.
With corporate work, it's happened where there's one client was like, so I gave they wanted to use me for a thing, and I don't know who between David and Riyad Musa they had wanted or had used before, and they couldn't get them, and so somebody suggested me. This woman says, "What? But that's how much Riyad charges." And I was like, and it is a but because why? Please explain to me for the but why? Why is there a but?
Wow.
Why but?
Wow. Was this a white lady?
Why but? And I was like, okay, then better get him to free himself up then, because
you are out.
This is how much I will charge you because Kisha. I know for a fact, like if you had the budget for him and you didn't get him, you can pay me also that much because I'm going to do the job. So at that point, I was like, you know what? I must accept that I'm never going to have a boss. I must keep moving, keep doing what I love, and just pray that I stay blessed and end up in places and spaces where people want me as me and they're gonna give me free rein to be me, you know. And so I've realized when it comes to broadcasting, it's not a space. I gave it a real chance, and I went to a place where I was happy. And even when I left, I actually left happy because I was going, let me leave while we're cool. I can see where this is going. So before it reaches there, because I see us going there, let me leave. And so yeah. So now I want to get back into radio, but I think I'm gonna go back to it the freeway.
Don't you want to come on the podcast and come broadcast on the come up?
Yes, I'm going to apply after this podcast. I'm supplying you with my CV and my biography so that people don't go, she used her name. No, I'm going to use my CV and my biography, and I will even send you clips and be like, but this is what I've
Of
done.
your previous work.
Yes, all my previous, because I can't just, but you know me, I'm Tumi Morake, because that's not nice.
I'm sure we can pay you like David and React.
And if I can just get basic medical aid.
So, at which point do you join Highfeld? Because
I never went to Highfeld.
No, man. I watched, was it Jacaranda on YouTube when you did a very beautiful show, talking about the racism that you experienced there.
Oh, Jacaranda, yeah.
Was it Jacaranda?
Yes, it was Jacaranda.
I've never listened to that station, eh?
Dude, that station is dope as F. Like,
Really?
And dude, like, it's a station that I recognize for years from even during the battle days. And their music, bruh. Like, you know, when people get it, they're not just playing new music to keep up with everybody else. They're playing music that people love. And so I enjoyed that about it. And I enjoyed that it has that ideal, man, of the feel-good South African life. You know, South African, where, yeah, that melting pot South African. So I love that about it. And that's why I went there. And you know, like I said, I've done interviews with them before. I'd visited them before with different DJs. I'd done afternoon, I'd done a morning, I'd done some weekend show visiting Mac. So I had been there. I had a feel for the listeners. I just wasn't aware that they had this other level of listeners. And this was a level of listeners who also believed they owned the show. And this was also a level of listeners who still live in the 80s. And when that happened, I hadn't been there long enough for them to understand my intentions. And also I was, being a woman, it's also so much easier to attack you than when a man says something. Like, I spoke out of place on so many levels. And so it was a thing of having to be put in my place, you know. It felt that way. And it was also from a place of people feeling attacked. That was an interesting experience. I mean, because even when things were coming to a head, there were certain people who would then find me directly and they would send me these long emotional emails, and I would just respond with, this is actually what I said. You can go and listen to this thing yourself. And this is what I meant. And I kid you not, the people who actually had a civil conversation with me before I then cut off all things, because then I started getting threats, was they genuinely went, that's not how I was told this thing when I was told it happened. Or they would say, when I came in, it didn't sound that way. And I'm like, but listen to the thing. You'll see I'm not adding or subtracting. This is exactly what happened, you know? And I was going, this is funny because not long before that thing, the very man who went online to attack me is the very man I was defending within reason, right? But I realized something. When people have made up their minds about their victimhood, about their hate, about where they stand on things, there's nothing you can do to change them. And any excuse to justify that shit they will jump on it. And that's what happened. It was very opportunistic. Elections were coming up. Um, People needed to look relevant again, So it was a nice way for them to look present, and I was a great scapegoat. But it was a learning curve for me, because a lot of people are like, "Do you regret speaking?" F no, I'll say it again. Me, I will say it again. Don't come. Not when I grew up without a father because of apartheid, and then you're gonna tell me, "Oh, does this mean now you'll never bring it up again?" Nah, bitch. I will very much,
It's
and with
important for us to
immediate
speak
effect.
out, eh? It's
It
important.
is.
It's important.
It is. And people going, "Oh, it happened so long ago." People talk about the Holocaust like it happened last week.
World War One. We're still hearing.
What? How? You should hear African Americans talk about slavery.
Exactly.
Then you're gonna tell me, but apartheid ended 1994. Yeah, yes, it ended, but it's not like then the racists all disappeared and they were all baptized in non-racial water, and then they woke up and were fine. Because if we are fine because you know what pisses me off is how, as a country, we have a problem. Yeah, but let's be honest, we have a freaking problem. Nobody wants to talk black and white because, we are all rainbow and we past this shit and we're now near racist, right? Then there's one person who blows up. There's always some explosion. There's a guy at the beach, not a K in sight. There's a woman who just had to be stopped by one Sipo Vilakazi, a traffic cop, throws K words. It just takes one teacher who's been treating kids a certain way, or a teacher who is calling our hair nappy, untidy, and whatever, for us to remember that we're problematic. And then it comes back to this thing. When you talk about where we are as a people with our emotional and mental state, and I'm going, yeah, it's because things are under the carpet. Things are under the carpet, and once you've thrown enough things under things, they will either explode, fall over, trip you, drown you, cripple you.
I think
Then I come with my.
we have been taught to withhold a certain level of crap as black people, and to
Yes.
forgive easily. Like it's okay. I don't know if you realized cancel culture when it comes to black people, it's very, very big. Like if me and you were to say something right now that offends someone somewhere, best believe we are trending tomorrow morning. Ne?
But can I tell you what I appreciate about black people and cancel culture?
Yeah.
Is that we are typical black people. We don't know how to hold a grudge. We don't know how to hold a grudge. We will cancel you, but we'll miss you.
And we'll still support you.
I'm gonna tell you.
While you're canceling you. We will still support you while you're canceling you.
First we'll hide it and feel bad. Then we just stop hiding it and work. It's none of your business. Then we'll just openly go back. Like if I can tell you how many, even women I found playing arcade, and you're like, you're playing arcade. It's like, it's just us. And you're like, that's not the point. That's not the point. You can't be playing his music. And then, like, yeah. And you go and look at the person's Twitter feed. Yeah, cancel. But then it will
shame, man. But why? Why is it so?
Why is
it so vile towards us? Cancel culture, as black people. Like I feel like
we're hard on ourselves because we've been taught to be hard on ourselves. We've been taught to be hard on ourselves. That's why we never ever let a rich black person just be rich. First, they didn't do anything illegal. Right? We're so proud. We're so proud. Check the family history. Make sure you really earned it. Because sometimes I feel bad when people sound like they're justifying their wealth. I've never seen white people justify their wealth. No. Unless we say, give us the land, then they go, but wait. This land
was given to me by my great grandfather.
Yeah. And we're hard on each other. I don't know why we're so hard on each other. We really shouldn't be so hard on each other.
And we even justify our success, even if it's not wealth.
Yes.
You listen to our job interviews. It's like, when in job interviews, we're begging for the job. It's like, I know I don't deserve to get this job, but please, man, I can prove myself. Even though you're qualified, you have experience, you still have the need to beg for the job. It's just how we were taught as a people, man. Which I don't.
It's worse for women though.
Yeah. I was watching interview at Taraji and Ti on his podcast, and she was speaking about how difficult it is for black women in the industry, that like this industry that you're in, like acting, media, that you just don't get the same respect as men. People just don't want to pay you the same money as men. It does not matter where in the world you go to, people just don't want to pay women the same money as men. Why though? Is it the same reason they feel like you guys are not good enough? You're not as good as men.
Somebody actually needs to ask them. I feel like the problem is we
Who's
keep
them
talking
though?
about
Who's
this
them?
is happening, but we've never asked the people who do the paying. And I think at some point somebody must be smart and do a documentary series or documentary series podcast and actually ask decision makers. Firstly, for every corporation, find out who decides who gets paid what. Then get them to explain to you why it's the way it is. You understand? Because sometimes I feel like we've identified the problem, but because we know there are people who create the problem, can we just ask them why? Why? You know? Because I know for me, there's a casino we once struggled with that we were trying to put up a show at. And they were giving us uphill until I used my manager, who's a man, to get us the place. To say, no, women just generally don't sell. I'm like, which ones have you tried? So what do you mean women generally do? Why don't you just say you've never had and now you're scared because
To try.
you haven't experienced and you don't have the balls to at least ask? How were they in other places, you know? And so when the shows sell out, then they're surprised. Yo, Kanti, Kuso, here, here, here.
They don't trust
You
women
know?
enough. I feel like they don't trust women
They don't.
enough. They don't trust your
They
talent.
don't. And it's okay to admit and go, no, it's because, historically we've never had a woman in this space. So we feel like it's a gamble, therefore we don't want to throw money behind it. Then at least I can go, here's my justification of why you should, because I understand what you're saying historically. Or me going, okay, for this one, I'm going to let you pay me this, but I need you to put it on paper that if I kill this and sell it out, you're going to give me the next one and you're going to give me a discount on the vein. Then we're having conversation, then you're respecting my intelligence. You understand? So, yeah. And I mean, I don't know, with everything, there's always a dialer thing. I'm sure there's a dialer woman in the same way there's a dialer darky. Sometimes there are people who will show up who don't measure up to the job and they will F it up. But when I come to you with a track record, don't come to me. Don't come at me with that BS. You know what I mean? But in my career, I also have to admit, and I would be remiss not to admit, that I've come this far because other women pushed for me. I'm very conscious of that.
Who are those women though within comedy and media?
That's in corporate. No, I'm talking about in corporate. I mean, in comedy, there weren't any other women doing it. So
Yeah.
what woman would be fine? But in corporate spaces, I have met women who have gone, I pushed for this thing. I'm like, girl, I got you. And there are people, even when we're trying to get things on TV, when you're trying to do things, and they will fight and put their neck on the line for you. And that's the women. And even when I go to the shows, and there's so many women in the room, man, when the women are so many in the room, and I'm going, this is why I can keep going, because these women are pulling their men out of the house and saying, let's go watch this woman, let's go support this woman. And it's a big thing that South African women need to give themselves props for. Because sometimes Twitter looks like it represents the makeup of our country, and it doesn't. Because I've seen women on Twitter be so vile towards other women. Then they have the freaking nerve when there's a GBV breakout. Us, our sisters, your sister, the very one you were slut shaming a second ago, the very one you were supporting men with, the very one who, when guys said she's lying about this thing, you were supporting, saying, yeah, Vele, because we saw her ass last week. She must have done something. You know what I mean? But people are people. You must just sometimes go, some people were raised up, some people were reared up. You must just hope.
Yeah, I always tell people Twitter standards that's not real life. That never base your life on Twitter standards. Most of these people are just bullies. I call them keyboard bullies. They sit behind the keyboard and they have the freedom to say whatever. But anyway,
they're entertaining sometimes.
Yeah, they're entertaining. I mean, that's why you all have Twitter. Twitter's like that toxic relationship.
It is. Uyang shy but
I
ngiyamthanda.
love him. That's Twitter to us. It's Twitter. So I want to talk about you venturing into Netflix acting because you said, "Hey, that's when I knew that you made it." Hey, when I saw you on Netflix, I'm like, "No, man."
Oh wow, really Netflix, wow.
I was like, "No."
So I started out as an actor. Like there's a misconception that comedy came before the acting. It's just that comedy blew up and moved me quicker. But acting has always been my first love. That's why I did drama. I studied dramatic art at Wits, got my honors degree, and my big thing was always performance. So while I was doing stand-up comedy, I was doing a lot of industrial theater. I was doing educational theater. I was acting on stuff. I was doing ads. I was doing big things. But like I said, how you look will dictate what you get. It's not just always the talent. And so everything has its time, right? And yeah, and I think Seriously Single was the thing. One of the things that just reminded the people who've always followed me that I'm an actress, but also showed people who had no idea that Tumi is an actress. There are people, and this is the scary thing for me about my brand, is much as I've been very conscious of driving brand Tumi Morake, I had forgotten that there's also the Tumi, the actor, that's the only one that people know. There are people who see me do comedy and they're surprised. Like I'll go to Bloom to go do a show, and there'll be mamas in there who came not because they were coming to see the comedian. They're coming because they remember me from His Also Connection, or they remember me from OPW, or they remember me from other spaces. And then when they meet the comedian, they're like, "Ah, she's like this," So yeah.
When are you doing a
But
show in South
acting,
Africa? Sorry to interject. When are you doing a show in South Africa again?
which show?
Comedy show. I get you in the
Oh,
US now.
yes. No,
No, we spoke that off camera. It's fine. You don't have to go into it.
this. No, but I should be. I think August. I think August. I'm coming for the Bokotos. That's it. The Bokotos must get together and have a laugh. So I believe I'll be in the country over August, and I'm gonna come into a show. Because that's another thing. My comedy has suffered. Last year was hectic for me, and I had very little time to work on my comedy. And then when I wanted to go and work on my comedy, Corona was like, but I'm busy. I'm like, I'm a COVID. I need stage time. The COVID is like, yeah, but I'm busy.
Hey, COVID was busy.
And COVID nearly killed me last year as well.
Really?
Because I spent a year in America. I didn't catch COVID. I go to South Africa 2-3 months in. I had COVID. The whole family had COVID. I got very sick. My blood started clotting. It really got real. And my husband also caught it, and he had COVID pneumonia. And I was proper like, yo, dog, don't play like this. Your ass needs to live. Like, yeah, you haven't accrued enough life cover money for
to raise 3 kids. There are 3, ne?
Too early, like, it's too early, dog. It's too early. Stick around.
Ah, man, that is so crazy. Wait, while we're speaking about shows, can we come? Can we come see you live?
How? You're asking for permission.
Yeah, no, I'm asking
Or
for
you saying you're
special.
not gonna buy a ticket?
No, we can buy tickets. We can buy tickets, but we wanna see you. Wanna shoot a live shoot.
Do it. Please do it. Because actually, what I wanted to do was also look at doing it 2 ways, because we don't know what this virus will do. So because I've seen that sometimes it flares up and then people go into panic mode, is I want to try and do a live and virtual at the same time. So I'll have the audience, I'll be doing it for them there, but then whoever can't come can also pay to watch it virtually, just so that everyone can enjoy and just so I can grow as a performer. Because being in America right now, I also feel like I'm finding a whole other new Tumi Morake, because comedy isn't it's the same, but it's not the same everywhere. You understand what I'm saying? So it's been very interesting trying to see where I fit in this huge landscape. Because some of the guys will come here and be like, yo, we are just a town in America. Because know, there are people who be like, but you're still funny. Yeah, but if I'm not having a good time and you're having a good time, then I'm not gonna last very long. The petrol finishes very quickly for me. We need to both be having a good time for my comedy to be great. Because I don't want you to walk away and be like, oh, that was fun. I want you to walk away and be like, yeah, Tumi Morake.
Yeah, no, I can't wait for August because that means I'll be working with you in some way or the other. Hey, Romeo,
I'm submitting my CV. Can't the way you just buttering me up.
I wasn't. I hope Romeo caught that. He's my guy. I hope he caught that. But yeah, the last thing I want to speak about is marriage. How easy or how difficult is it to be in this industry, be married? How long have you been married, by the way?
Yeesh, I've been married since 2009, so that's 13 years this year.
Oh, when I was what? 12?
Guys, you've decided today you want to make me feel old. You're like, you're going to feel 40. You're 40. You're going to feel 40 today. It's like you made a conscious decision.
It's my mission today.
How old were you? 3 years old? Did you say you were 3 years old?
No.
Did you just say you were 3 years old?
12, 13.
12. You're 12.
When
No, then it's fine. You were a man. You were a man. Already, your voice was. It was breaking. It's okay. You were a man.
Yeah, I was 12 or 13 at the time.
Yeah, the beard was coming in. It's fine. The beard was coming in. It's okay.
So, you've been married since 2009, eh?
And I've been with him since 2002.
Sure. How did you get
How old were you then? How old were you then? Since you choose violence. How old?
I was 8. To me, not Jordan, like 8 years.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Anyway.
How has it been?
No, you can't have been 8.
No.
You weren't 8.
1996.
You were 4.
Yeah, I was 4.
2002 is when we started dating. You were 2.
Ooh, yeah. No, I'll get it 2000.
No, you can't have been 2. Wait, hold on. You were 12 when I was getting married in 2009.
1990?
I was with him since. So, minus 7. You were.
I was 6. I was 6 in 2002.
People are going to be watching this thing going, yeah. They clearly were not top math students.
Math is killing them. It took them 5 minutes to figure out their age.
Like, it's a good thing they made it in entertainment. Yeah.
I was counting with my fingers underneath the laptop.
That's funny.
I was counting with my fingers.
Yeah. No, it's my person. It's like we raised each other. We were together since we were 21. Broke up a couple of times. Ended up back together every time. And then eventually it's like, what are we playing here? I mean, stop it with the breakups.
Yeah, you decided to get married.
We decided to get married because we wanted to have a family. And marriage seemed like the great space to do it in. Like, people do it differently. There are people who just go, me, I'm committed to you, you're committed to me, let's start a family. Yeah, so as we got married, also you don't have to explain to your families why you're living together and cutting and sitting. And I think to answer your question about marriage and how hard it is in this industry, marriage is hard generally. Marriage is it's hard. When I say it's hard, I don't go, oh my God, don't do it. It's so hard. I mean, it's work. Because I'm coming with my whole entire luggage. That person is coming with their whole entire luggage. Now I must deal with my baggage. Then I must deal with his baggage. Then I must deal with our collective baggage. Then he comes, he must deal with his baggage. My baggage. And our collective baggage together that which we accumulate as a couple. So it's work on that level. When you put it in this industry, firstly, the loneliest thing about the entertainment industry, and Ricky Rick said it in his song, like I keep repeating this because I remember even when I first heard it, it hit me hard. When he talked about how hard it is that everybody knows you, but you don't know anyone.
Sure.
So you're surrounded by so many people who think they know you. Everybody has a version of you. Then there's who you are in your marriage. Then there's who you are as whatever you've sold yourself as in that industry. And then somehow when you come back to your person, you must be able to take all of that off and be here. So it's hard. Time for me is depending on what is important to you. For me, time is what makes it difficult for me, because I must have time for that, for you, for those who love me out there. I must have time for me. I must have time for the persona. Then I must have time for him. Then I must have time for them. They didn't ask to come to this world, I brought them. Now they need what they need. And then there's the community that also needs you outside of whoever you think Tumi Morake is. It's freaking hard. Because then we are also taught that this is what a marriage is, this is what a wife is, this is what a husband is, this is what a dad is, this is what a mom is. Yeah, it's a lot, me bro. So I'm like, people must be gentle with themselves, bruh. When I'm being an absent mom, or I think I'm being an absent mom, all it takes is one of my kids hugging me to know that actually I'm getting it right. You know, I remember there was one time I'd been away from home so much, I was convinced, I was like, these kids, I'm probably the worst mother on earth. And then one of my kids got hospitalized, and I was able to answer all of the doctor's questions. And in that moment, I was like, if I was so absent, why did I know these things? How was I aware of so many of these things? You know? Because I look at my firstborn. Yes, my firstborn has a type. Like, he's turning 13. But when I look at the kind of girls that interest him, or that he'll talk about, he loves go-getters. He loves, like when he talks about Black Panther, he always talks about T'Challa's sister.
Ooh,
you know?
I love her.
And I remember there was some DC comic film that was coming out, and I was like, Mom, it's a girl writing it. It's a girl. There's this girl. Her name is, I don't remember the name. He was excited. And, you know, he plays FIFA. He plays the soccer, right? And he was naming all these top female soccer players. And he's like, Mom, you're a girl. You should know them. You know? And I was like, I love that my son has watched me go out and work. If I was sitting at home, I don't feel like I would have sold him that. So those things I was feeling bad about, of going away, working and whatever. He's taught me that I mustn't punish myself. You know, I've given you such a long answer, but yes, what I'm trying to say is marriage is hard. It's not harder in any industry, I don't think. I just think it's freaking hard, especially when you're not talking. And in this industry, it's just made more complicated because then there's so many people. And imagine if you and me, I mean, if we're a couple and we fight, and I leave you feeling low. In fact, I don't leave you feeling low. You've allowed whatever I did to leave you feeling low. And then you go out and there's Nzigi saying, is it when you're a man's man, I would never shout
Who's
it.
that? Mazwai?
Oh, heck, not. Or she just slap you upside the head and be like, you're wrong. But when that other woman comes and, you know, then you start to get higher on your own supply. And then you might decide you're not listening to me, you're listening to the voice of 100 fans. So maybe then that makes it a different kind of difficult. But I just think across the board in J.
Yeah, but how do you make it work, to me? Because I see a lot of couples that have been married less than you, especially I feel like Batubanyetsing for more than 10 years are holding it together more than the newer ones that are coming in, you know? The newer ones. Yeah, but us, like but me, so what is it that you guys are doing right? Because there seems to be this notion, Yauri, if you're unhappy, leave. Like, we live in a generation of don't beg a zela. You know your worth. If one thing happens, there's always a better woman, there's always a better man. So for people that have been married for so long, what is it that has kept you guys together? I feel like this is an important question. Hey, out of all the questions that I've asked, I feel like yeah, this is important.
To be married to someone with the concept of someone better in your head is a problem. Then you shouldn't be married to that person because there shouldn't be anything better possible than who you've got. The minute you do believe there's something better, then you shouldn't be there, and by all means, go. You know? There's a man who's been married for 47 years who said, the problem is that we marry the people we love, not the people who love us. So if you want to be with someone for a long time, be with someone who loves you. You understand? And I was like, damn, that's deep. Someone who loves you. You understand? So for me, I mean, our marriage has seen flames. And the reason we're still together is because we are friends. When we're not lovers, we're friends. And that's important. The friendship has never been lost. And I always say, marry your best friend. Because that's your bra. Also, it's hard to keep secrets from your friend. So half the time also when you're trying to hide shit, it's going to come out because that's your friend and they know you. So better marry that person. Because when your truth is too scary for even you to face, they're going to help you face your truth, or they're going to make you face the truth because they know you. I think that's it. And also, I suppose, being able to go, I can have anyone else, I just don't want to. You're a choice. You're still a choice. Just because you're married doesn't mean you're bound. And people need to take that word out of their languages, that I have to and I should. You chose each other. You married each other by choice. No one took guns to your heads and put you in. So choose to make it work. And the day we decide we're giving up, I am convinced and I believe it will be because we've played all the cards. There's nothing left. Even the friends are going, for the sake of our friendship, let's end this thing so our friendship can at least survive. Because our friendship has given birth to 3 angels. And they don't deserve to now be living a life they need to recover from because their parents couldn't get it together.
Wow, that is beautiful. That is beautiful. Yeah. I want to end by clarifying something we spoke about in the episode. I think you know what it is. What's really happening in August?
What's really happening where?
In August.
So in August, I am coming around to play with the Mbokodos and the gorgeous women of South Africa, Mzansi. Because I'm coming back to film. I'm working on a couple of film projects. So because I'll be in the country anyway, I am going to come and do a show. We'll probably be there by Empress, but I'll let you guys know before Empress starts emailing me. And they're like, "Sir, when do you have this show? Because us, we don't know anything." But I like performing anywhere where I know I can either just walk to the airport or walk to my house. So I'll be I'll be there. But I'm gonna come back and do some comedy. I might actually come and play in Cape Town around April, but I will confirm on socials.
Okay. And we will also be there, right? We're going to do a live shoot with you in August.
You're officially a stalker that is also self-confessed stalker. What people don't know, you were telling me.
I thought,
Guys, we had a behind the scenes, and I can tell you the things Kabo was telling me.
I thought that was staying behind the scenes.
I'm still traumatized. So I will see you. Yeah.
I just wanted to clarify that I will be seeing you in August.
No, it's on like a scone, like Donkey Kong.
You see?
It's just you're very young, and I was about to say it's on like Donkey Kong, and I'm like, he's not going to know what is Donkey Kong, so I can't say that. Let me say it's on like a scone.
It's on like a Scott. Romeo, I hope you have that. I really hope Romeo has all these things. Tumi, thank you very much.
Before we even sign off, I have to ask. So, how old are you? Because your age has been changing throughout our conversation.
I'm 26. I am
You're
26.
26.
I'm turning 26.
And what is the appropriate Ben 10 age? Because now, just from this conversation alone, I'm going, am I the age where a Ben 10 has to be 35 so that we can have a conversation? Like,
No, no. I think the appropriate age of Ben 10 is like 22, 23, eh? I think. I'm putting in my CV. Oh, my girlfriend is gonna kill me. My girlfriend is gonna kill me for that joke.
she won't care. She'll be like, "Nkgono, so laughing. You have to go play with grannies. Continue. You'll have to put her teeth in her salt water for her. It's fine. Do it. Go."
Tumi, thank you very much, man. Thank you so much. You've been so amazing. I really appreciate it. I appreciate you. I appreciate the person that you are. I really hope more female stand-up comedians would say yes, because I've DM'd them. Hey, I spoke to Nina's manager. She was like, no, she's not interested, because I just feel like we have to do our part as well. Get the people out there, man, because there's just not a lot of material for female stand-ups. I'm gonna watch this and get the names of the people that you spoke about and see if I can get some of them on the show. I'm gonna be like, Tumi Morake said I should get you on the show. Are you available?
Tell them.
Tumi, thank you, man. We'll be seeing you in August. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you very much for watching, guys. Thank you for tuning in, man. It has been such a wonderful episode with Tumi. Tumi, goodbye.